You are now watching the College Baseball Insider Show.
Is behind him. This is hammered. Left field, and we are tied. Wow.
Now, here are your hosts, giving you an inside look into the top matchups.
Week 2 is here, and I am down in Arlington ready to kick off this Kubota College Baseball Series. Arkansas Razorbacks take on Oregon State tonight in what will be primetime television in college baseball. Q, what's up, man?
What's up? I'm jealous. I wish I was down there with you. I didn't get the
You
invite.
should be down here. They actually gave me media credentials, so I'm going to try to get some insiders on the field type action going on. But let's get right into it. Wichita State, Virginia kicking off here in just a little bit. When I was running the numbers, I was kind of surprised. Wichita State looks like they should play Virginia pretty close here. So I had to dabble a little bit. I took Wichita State plus 3.5 on the run line. I think they could contend with Virginia.
I'm not mad at you.
You look at that pitching.
Yeah.
Wichita State, 199 Sierra for their starting pitcher. Jack O'Connor didn't look great in his first outing. So do you think Virginia takes care of business, or do you think Wichita State plays them close?
I could see either way. You'll see in my plays the trend is bounce back for a lot of pitchers. First start jitters. I think Jack O'Connor is going to be one of them. He had a pretty good year last year up until the Virginia Tech series, and that could be from fatigue or whatever, just nervousness. But this is a game that, for all intents and purposes, Virginia should win. They're 4-0. Wichita State's 2-1. Now, I don't think Wichita State played anybody overly crazy to get that 2-1. So for the first couple weeks, I think our Sierra numbers are not going to tell an extremely accurate picture. So let's keep that in mind for ones that are skyrocketed like Hagen Smith and then maybe Caden Favors too. But maybe this is legit. We just got time will tell. And Virginia's going to slip up this weekend. I don't think they're going to start the season 7-0. It's just a matter of where. And I think this will be a spot where they get caught sleeping.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully it's in game 1, or at least they play them close. They are playing in the Jacksonville Classic down in Florida, and then they will alternate opponents with Iowa and Auburn. And this is one that I'm excited about. Both, I mean, it's a coin flip game. You got Brody Brecht going. You got Chase Alsop going. Both in the mid-2 Sierras. Iowa kind of lacks on offense, and I think Auburn probably boasts the better offense here. So at the end of the day, I always go with the pitcher. I would lean Iowa, but I could definitely see Auburn and make a case for Auburn to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend. Obviously, it's essentially a pick 'em, both minus 115. We see the projected run scores that we'll be tracking, and it's a pick 'em game. Now, you like we've talked about, Brody Brecht is probably the better on paper pitcher, but if he's not throwing strikes, then you give the advantage to Chase Alsop, especially with Auburn's slightly better offense. I don't think Auburn's crazy, but I do think they're better offensively than Iowa. But if Brody Brecht's on, I mean, he's one of the most dominant pitchers. It's hard to hit a consistent 100+ mile an hour fastball, and he does have good stuff when he's accurate. That's the X factor, is his accuracy. Yeah. It's a stay away from me, though.
Yeah, I bet Iowa at even money.
Okay.
And then,
I mean, it's a great game to watch.
Immediately regretted it because I was worried about it.
Yeah.
Oh, he just said Blanco is pitching. So Virginia is starting.
Okay, wow.
Evan Blanco.
All right. Well, that tells me then they think they're going to save Jack for a better opponent.
Yeah.
That almost gives me some confidence, though.
It looks like
I think Blanco pitched well. He did.
Interesting. Thank you for that.
Good call, Ryan. Appreciate it,
Ryan. Yeah. Good looking out. All right, North Carolina, East Carolina. Little battle of the Carolinas here. Which side are you going? We've got another coin flip matchup. There seems to be a trend going.
North Carolina's offense was slightly anemic at times last year. It looks like they're starting off extremely hot, which is good for them. They obviously have to run through you Savage today, which is a tall task. Series-wise, I almost give the edge to North Carolina as long as pitching can hang, because I think East Carolina's offense has looked maybe too good. One of my concerns was they did lose some power, and they really haven't missed a beat. though Ryder did seem to slightly slow them down after the first 3 or 4 innings. And that concerns me because North Carolina could put up runs, and that's going to create some pressure on East Carolina to possibly lose this series. If I had to guess, this is a series prediction. I think East Carolina could get the edge tonight, but I think the series could go to North Carolina.
I could totally see that. I mean, Trey Savage's elite stuff. Must see TV. I feel like he's going to get the win tonight, but then North Carolina is ultimately going to be able to outwill them with the bats. All right, moving down the road from me, the boys at Lupton. Shout out JD. I may actually skip the Michigan-Oregon State beatdown and go check out TCU UCLA in Fort Worth. That would be a lot of fun. I'd love to see Lupton, but they're hosting UCLA. The boys from California, Deuce Gerson, looks like he is the real deal. Pretty happy about our fantasy draft that we picked him up.
Yeah.
Outside of that, UCLA really doesn't have a whole lot swinging the bat. The pitchers are just so. TCU out to a -190 favorite. Is that getting too high to back the Frogs, or do you think they roll the Bruins?
No, I'm not buying UCLA. I mean, outside of Gorson and Schreier, who do they really have? And then you have to look at who they played. They played Gonzaga. One of the games, Gonzaga actually kind of played them close, and then UCLA pulled off late. But I think we're watching the same UCLA team. Like, they're not going against Gonzaga, that none of us even know. TCU, we know just about everybody on the pitching staff is a quality name, and then as well as the lineup. I don't think when they can win back against Florida Gulf Coast from behind fashion, this team doesn't get scared by a deficit. So to them, it doesn't phase them, and that's scary to me because they're clicking for the first 3 innings. They're falling asleep for the next 3, and then they're awake. Oh, okay, let's play ball again. If they figure out those middle 3, they might be one of the best teams in the country. Peyton Doley, you said it last night on Johnny's show, struggled, right? 12 ERA, but the Sierra tells a lot. The guy's electric, and like you said, he's only got 2 batters to worry about. You could almost have the strategy of putting both of them on every time and being confident they're not going to score more than you're going to get them out.
Yeah, I agree. JP, thanks for watching. He said it feels like the public is attempting to correct the books on UCLA. Maybe. I mean, what you saw from TCU, and I get it, Florida Gulf Coast, it was still impressive that they came back and won, but they've showed that they're susceptible to putting people on base. Like, they'll make mistakes, and I think if UCLA can capitalize on those mistakes, this is going to be a series. However, I do think the pitching for TCU steps up in a big way, much like Hagen Smith. Like, they have the stuff. They just didn't have it last week, and I think you see much improvement moving on. All right. Last but not least, in the backyard right now, as I overlook Jerry World AT&T Stadium, we have Oklahoma State taking on Michigan in the early game. This one is weird to me because everybody knows Michigan ever since their improbable run to face Vanderbilt in the championship series, 5 years ago? They haven't been a baseball. They haven't been a baseball school. Eric Bakich leaves, goes to Clemson, is doing great things there. But this Michigan team, the stats say they should be able to play with Oklahoma State, which I know we're down on, but Oklahoma State dropped 2 to Sam Houston State. Do you think Michigan can pull the upset here in Arlington?
Well, first off, I think Sam Houston State's a much better opponent than Michigan. I think there's better quality. Oklahoma State did kind of wake up. Their pitching is wild card, but I'm not overly high on Michigan's offense. I mean, they're 2-2. When I looked at who they played, I believe they went 2-2 against, was it Western Michigan? I mean,
yeah, it was a directional Michigan school.
Yeah, that to me, it'd be different if they went 2-2 and they faced Iowa and Indiana, right? Western Michigan's nothing to write home about. Oklahoma State's nothing to write home about either, but on an equal playing field, Oklahoma State is far and away the better offense. And pitching is probably just as good, if not slightly better, just from an on-paper standpoint. Obviously, they have to put it together, but Smitty brought up a good point. We were texting. Michigan walked 23 batters in 2 games. I mean, if you're just going to give free bases to Oklahoma State, they're going to score because they can hit the ball. It might get into a shootout. I actually think maybe I don't want to say value because I don't think Oklahoma State should be higher, but I think 250 in a parlay is not bad value, to be honest.
Well, I took the plus 3.5. We'll get into it in a little bit. Run line. All right. Then
it's going to be right on that line, man. It's going to be an 8-4 or 7-4 game.
I think, too, playing in a big league ballpark, pitching is going to be crucial. I don't think Oklahoma State's just going to be able to rake. But last but not least, number 2, Arkansas takes on number 7, Oregon State. I have this a coin flip game, really. At 6-7, the numbers went back and forth. It's still a very small sample size that we're testing out, but we wanted to put it out there for the projected runs scored. Aiden May versus Hagen Smith coming off just getting absolutely blown up in that James Madison game. He said his hand was cold. He couldn't get a good grip on the ball. We'll see. I feel like he's going to respond well. Aiden May, ERA looks good. Sierra, not so good. We'll see. I mean, this is going to be a very good game. I feel like it's going to be neck and neck. I could make the case it's, probably a 1-run game. So whichever side you like, you could balance yourself out by taking the money line and then taking the run line plus 1.5. What are your thoughts in this one? Not being a Razorback fan, which is the right side?
I think the Hogs. I mean, I'm pretty unbiased when it comes to our show. I feel like I've actually faded Florida at times, and there's been times where you've been against Arkansas and I've been on it. I've talked you into it. We won some money last year, and I think that's a spot. I think Oregon State's not going to go undefeated, right? They're going to lose to somebody, and I hate to play the do factor, but look who they're pitching against. When you look on paper, 1 versus 1, Aiden May versus Hagen Smith, you're taking Hagen Smith 7 out of 7 times. Aiden May, like you said, good ERA, doesn't strike a lot of guys out to walk ratio, so they're going to be able to get some contact. He got kind of roughed up last year at times at Arizona, and Sierra reflects that. And I think you have inaccurate stats with Hagen Smith, and that's the whole jittery start thing. So I think you're going to see some correction to that. Hagen Smith, he's a primetime pitcher. He doesn't have the jitters, I think. I think he settles down in this game and pitches a gem. And last year to this year, I think the offense is night and day for Arkansas. If this was last year, I take Oregon State. This year, I take Arkansas. I think Hagen Smith's going to be able to kind of neutralize some of the bats for Oregon State. They're going to score. You're not going to shut them out. But I think they can do enough and be in this game that Arkansas gets it late.
Sounds good. JP, yes, I agree. It should be on ESPN primetime.
I agree.
And big bounce back game for Smith. We talked about it. He was projected to be a top
Oregon State,
draft
right?
pick coming in. And
didn't you bet Oregon State?
I bet Oregon State right when we landed.
I love it.
And then I turned around and said bet Arkansas because I'm weak. Gonna go with my heart here. I'm excited.
I'll say this.
Regardless
of the side, I don't think it's a bad pick regardless. Like, I couldn't be like, oh, you're an idiot for taking Oregon State, or you're a homer for taking Arkansas. It's honestly a flip of the coin, and I'd sit there and you tip your cap to both teams.
Yeah. I had to bet the number based on I made Oregon State a slight favorite, but the more that I thought about it, I saw the team in the lobby last night. They're loose. They're having fun. Vahiva, it's just awful haircut, but great
Can I
ball
say this
player.
too?
Yeah.
Obviously they're 4 and 5 games in. Oregon State's played Texas A&M or Texas Tech. Texas Tech hurt themselves a lot in that game. Do you feel like Oregon State stats are maybe slightly padded just because of who they played?
Yeah.
Like, I look at Arkansas. JMU is a quality team. They go 3-1. Obviously they lost. It is what it is. Good teams lose at times. But I feel like just the stats are more accurate to maybe what the gameplay was. I think Oregon State's, while they played Texas Tech, the stats don't necessarily correlate with how they've actually played, because they kind of struggled through the first 7 innings against Minnesota. They had a little sluggish start earlier in the season as well, and they were doing everything they could to let Texas Tech back in the game until they got that second bases clearing double. But it really was 6-4 for most of the game, and most of the 6 runs that Oregon State had were due to miscues.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, James Madison just beat Virginia Tech the other day in midweek.
I mean, they're a
too.
quality team. I could be wrong. Oregon State could win 11-1, and I look like an idiot. But
I feel like too, just the rivalry that this has kind of turned into after 2018. I feel like juices are going to be flowing. Nobody really wants to make a bigger deal of this game. I know, don't remind me. But everybody wants to make this game bigger than what it probably is. But it's an early season great game versus a ranked opponent. That's how Arkansas should treat it. They can drop this game 20-1. I think they lost like that to TCU last year here. Still worked out, won the SEC. So, all right, best bets recap. Being without Smitty, we've got his picks in here. He's on TCU, East Carolina, Indiana, and a Coastal, Duke, Oklahoma State moneyline parlay. I'll let you go over yours.
Yeah, so Smitty, he's kind of on Indiana with me. We both like Reestorf pitching against Baylor. I think Baylor's been slightly competitive, probably a little better than what we thought, but Reestorf kind of got roughed up in his first start outside of the first 3 innings where he looked pretty good. And it was against Duke, far better opponent. And so I think he gets his first win. I think it's pitcher bounce back week. TCU, we talked about that. I think Peyton Tolley bounces back on the mound. I'm not worried about his bat. I like that there, even though it is getting a little juicy. I would personally, I'd still play it under 200. I think there's some value there. I think Cade Fisher for Florida, even though they're 750, they're a good parlay piece. He's going to get right. I think Florida wins all 3 games. I think Liam Peterson Saturday is another good spot. Mississippi State just lost 2. I mean, they had a commanding 5 or 6 run lead against Arkansas State, blew it. I'm not saying I'm a Lamonis guy, but I think he can figure it out to at least get their guys fired back up for an at-home win here, kind of get right spot. That's kind of outside the numbers. Duke, Santucci, I mean, that's all we have to talk about. Arkansas, I just broke them down. I think USC is the same spot. Caden Aoki's far better than what we saw in his first start. I know USC struggles to hit. Portland, same thing, though, so that benefits Aoki. Yeah, they're playing at UC Irvine, whatever, but not many teams start 0-5. I think with Aoki on the mound, they're just too good to go 0-5. And then I actually added a play after this was made. I took the under 12 at -115 for Portland USC. I could see this being like a 6-2 game. I think Aoki can shut down Portland, which is a step below them. And I think Stankiewicz has a slightly better team than maybe the season has started.
I'm curious, you don't have in front of you the total for Arkansas Oregon State, do you? Because I kind of lean under if you can get like 11.5, 12.5. I doubt it's going to be that high being in Arlington, but we'll see.
11 and so I've got Arkansas -1.5 at +114. Oregon State +1.5 at -145. And I think that might be a good middle. I don't see this game being 2 runs. But then over under is 11.5. That kind of scares me. 6-5, you're right there. You're at 11. 7-5, 7-6 game, you're over. Yeah, I don't like that. If that was 12 or maybe 12.5, I'd feel a little more confident, but it's too close for me.
Yep. All right. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate the comments. We will see you on Monday for the recap show. Cheers.